On this week's episode of the RAG podcast, I was joined by Ashley Lawrence. Ashley is the founder and CEO of Trinnovo Group, which hosts and holds 3 recruitment agencies called Trust in Soda, Broadgate Search, and BioTalent. Ashley started his recruitment career at S3 and quite quickly into his career started his own rec-to-rec business back in 2009, so 10 years ago, at the age of 22. He then, a couple of years later, decided he wanted to branch out into digital recruitment, which is what he did before, which is where he launched Trust in Soda with an old colleague. And 6 years later, he's now got just under 100 staff across 4 global locations, across 3 brands, and they are absolutely rocking as an organization. This guy is 34 years old, and he's done an MBA, he's growing teams in different locations, he's super knowledgeable, super charismatic, and just a great guy, to be honest. Someone that I learned from in the last hour, and I think you guys will learn from too. But his attitude towards growth and his attitude towards diversification of brands and his appetite to just learn from mistakes and keep opening new opportunities and ventures is super, super inspirational. So I'm sure you'll get a lot of value from this one. So without further ado, Ash, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, mate.
It's good to have you in.
It's good to be here.
You look sun-kissed and exotic with your fresh tan after your holiday.
Feel good.
How was it?
Good, really good. Refreshed. Had about 2.5 weeks. Hong Kong, Bali, Singapore.
Over the Christmas period?
Over the Christmas period. So we shut the office from the 20th of December through to the 6th of Jan. So
wow, that is a long one.
Yeah, so we had like a Q4 incentive. So we had a kind of a countdown across the offices, across brands. And we had a bit of a countdown and hit it on the last day. So everyone got 2.5 weeks off, which was great.
Just jet set it off. And
I was going either way.
So how long did you have in each place?
So I was 2 nights in Hong Kong, 10 in Bali, 2 in Singapore, back to London for a couple of days before getting back into the office on the 6th.
And you already feel like you need another break a bit?
I've been back for 2 days. I definitely need another holiday.
The life of a recruitment owner. Well, Ash, look, it's great to have you in, buddy. I've obviously given you a little intro, but I can never do it justice. So can you, for the listeners' benefit, tell us who you are and what you're up to?
Yeah, my name's Ashley Lawrence. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Trinnovo Group. So Trinnovo Group incorporates Trust in Soda, which is our digital brand, Broadgate Search, which is our banking and finance or regulatory brand, and BioTalent, which is our life sciences brand. So
right.
We're operating in London, Dublin, Manchester, and now California.
Wow.
More recently, Switzerland as well. With
what, as in office out there, or?
With Switzerland, we have an office there. It's a satellite office to kind of some of the regulatory prerequisites, so that you have to have a kind of entity. But we'll likely service from London rather than having a physical office there. But in California, Dublin, Manchester, and obviously London, we've got physical offices.
No wonder you needed a break with all that. That's busy.
Yeah, it's great though. We're enjoying it. So across the group, we are 94 in terms of headcount now. We've done that over relatively
was it 6 years?
Short period of time. Yeah. So the first business as part of the inception was Soda, which is January 2014. So 6 years in.
How fast has that gone?
We've been 6 years, and I think I've aged about 26 years. So it's been tough. It's been difficult, but it's enjoyable. You build. Someone gave me some really good advice about 18 months into the inception of Soda, which was stop building a business to sell. Build a business that you enjoy working in. Yeah. Build a business that
people are more likely to buy that anyway.
Well, everything else is byproducts then. So you enjoy coming to work. So with that in mind, what you do is you invest into pretty cool things without looking at immediate return on investment or wanting to quantify absolutely everything, and you stop working as a business analyst almost, and you start enjoying it. You start focusing on culture and people and engagement and incentives and ensuring that everyone's happy and engaged. And I think we sort of reshaped that focus, and I enjoy it. I enjoy going to work every day. It's difficult, massively rewarding, but I think for us, we'll provided I'm happy, provided I enjoy getting out of bed in the morning, which I do, got great people around me, then...
Well, that's what it's all. I mean, I completely agree. We're going into year 4. So Hoxo started in the March. So the first we traded in April 2017.
Yeah.
But me and my business partner didn't really like, having been recruiters in a calendar year cycle, it just didn't feel right coming back in April to the start of the year. And then you've got Easter and all these fucking bank holidays, and you're like, there's no momentum. So we've changed our annual year. So we had a 9-month year last year. So we're actually technically going into year 4 now. So this is the start of a year. But like I said, I come back from Christmas, a couple of weeks off. I actually went to Manchester for 2 weeks, which I've never done since I was 18. And I love it. Like, I'm excited coming in. It's what it's all about. Obviously, whatever plans you've got in the future, you need to enjoy it.
Massively. I mean, my first day back, I did a kind of morning presentation to everyone in London, straight on the train to Manchester, straight on the flight to Dublin.
Really?
And back to I love it.
Yeah,
I enjoy doing that.
That's my long-term vision, getting around different offices.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't flying in a private plane or anything like that, but it wasn't mine there either. But it was, in terms of getting that vision and message and continuity and ensuring collaboration, that's a big part of my job now.
Wow.
It is.
Well, look, we'll get on to your job now in the future in a bit. So let's go back, and in true rag style, we always go back, right? So you started this business 2014, but previous to the episode, you told me that you had a business before that, right? So let's go even further back.
Sure.
I don't want to go into masses of detail around your recruitment agent career, but how did that all become? How did you get into the industry?
Same as everyone else, I think. You sort of fall into it a little bit. I grew up in the Isle of Wight, moved to London when I was 19.
Really?
To utilise the
What's the Isle of Wight like? I don't even know where it is.
Basically, everyone goes at year 6 for a school trip, and that is the purpose of the Isle of Wight. It's the Needles, But so yeah, you have to get out of there, right? Because I did always have a bit of a kind of ambition and aspiration to earn money, to drive a nice car, to live in a nice house, and it's challenging to do that, right? From the Isle of Wight. So London was a bit of a, is a cool city. It's where you go, really. And I had GCSEs, but I had basically I did 1 of 2 years in A-levels before I just thought I'm getting out, and left the Isle of Wight, moved to London, worked in a gym in Covent Garden, not that you would know it now, to look at. And one of the guys that I was training was on the board at S3,
right?
And said you should come and interview. So I did, joined Computer Futures.
Like the perfect junior recruiter in a gym looking to make money in the big city.
But you know what? That office was basically full. I mean, the way that S3 and kind of hire is, you hire people with transferable skills, but typically don't have any recruitment experience at all. Because the training and infrastructure that's available to them is second to none. So they want to teach you how to do it correctly, and that was fantastic. I really enjoyed my time there. But I was there for about 18 months, Computer Futures in London, at a time when it was an incredibly successful group of people in that office. And just thinking back now, anything that I learned then and during that time, I still apply today, which is really strange. Just from a kind of standard operating process, a kind of minimum standards process, accountability perspective. Like you learn it all quickly there. It's a bit of a boot camp. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time there, and then moved on, went to Elam, which is now called Experience. So I ran the contracts and new business team there for London, and was there for roughly 18 months again before I set up Strategic Move, which is... So
you launched your own company within about 3 years of being a recruiter?
Yeah.
Wow. How old were you then?
So I was 22.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you were A-levels when you left, and you fucking hell, you were a punchy, chippy Isle of Wight boy, weren't you?
Yeah, just had to get on with it.
I love it.
But yeah, Strategic Move is a rec-to-rec business. Right.
So why on earth did you think about launching a rec-to-rec when you've never done it and you're only 3 years into recruitment?
I kind of tested it a little bit. I tested it in the sense of I had some good mates that were looking to leave their recruitment businesses, and I'd always been contracts, right? Which is it's client driven over candidate driven. I'd never done perm before, which is candidate driven.
Yeah.
But then in working in that way where your commodity is the candidate and it's so candidate driven, the engagement then you get through the clients, I thought, what a great opportunity this is. And I was able very quickly to kind of test my hypothesis that actually it's a poorly serviced market and there's an opportunity, and we made a couple of placements quickly. That was me and my business partner who set up Strategic Move, Paul Bogle. Him and I met at Compute Futures, and yeah, so that seemed to work, and so we launched Strategic Move. Two of us in in an office in Berkeley Square. We had this office in Berkeley Square. It's £1,000 a month. Didn't have any windows.
£1,000 a month.
£1,000 a month.
Back in 2009 or something.
2009. That was
Fucking that's a lot. That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
then,
but
starting off.
Yes and no. So it was in Berkeley Square House, which is in the middle of Berkeley Square, and you have these like massive glass double doors and these huge elevators going up.
Yeah, and you were in the cupboard.
And we were just in the cupboard at the back without any windows. But the reception area was amazing, and you know what recruiters are like. They just they want to work. They want to be associated with that type of thing. So we would ensure that everyone was just sort of waiting and loitering around the reception area, come down the elevators, make out as if the meeting rooms were too busy, and then take them to our private members club across the road.
Really?
Yeah. So it's kind of worth it in that sense.
Do you know what? Venquist did that with me in 2012. When I was in Melbourne, I was speaking to them at like 7 at night, and it sounded a bit quiet. And I was used to Randstad having like 300 people on the floor.
Yeah.
I was like, similar to you, 18 months, and I was like, but anyway, I got there and they were like, oh, we're a bit busy, so we took me to like Bonds, a members club, whatever, in Northumberland Square, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then the first day I went in the office, I was like, is this it? Is that the same size as this room?
Yeah. You're in by that point.
Yeah, I was already in. Go on, so carry on.
So it was Paul and I for the first sort of year and a half, and just I'd worked for FTSE 250 in S3, and then Elan, which was owned by Manpower, so two massive businesses, and then all of a sudden you're in a room with your mate with no windows, setting up computers, and then what do we do now? And I remember him and I just going to get a bacon sandwich around the corner, just being like, what have we done?
What are we doing?
We found it hilarious.
Yeah. How old was he at the time?
He's a little bit older than me, so he's about 3 or 4 years older than me. Yeah,
he's still 25, 26.
Yeah, but he was always going to be that operational person.
Yeah.
So I mean, you obviously, if there's two of you, you need both really, and you need to have a bit of focus on sales, and he did, but he was much stronger at that gets quoted a lot on this show, Traction, that Gino.
The integrator and the visionary.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So he was the kind of integrator. If you like, he was doing a lot of the process operations stuff, and it was tough actually for month one, tough for month two. Month 3, I think we did okay, and then we smashed it. To be honest, from there, it can generate an awful lot of profit, a rec-to-rec business. But as we found out, over the course of, and we had Strategic Move for 5 years, built that business to 14 people. There's a difference between profit and equitable value.
Yeah.
In that. It's difficult to scale. The barriers to entry are incredibly low. You don't get a huge amount we don't get any really residual income.
No.
Difficult to build out a leadership team or have any real retention tools in place. So because of the lack of scale, although it had good amount of revenue, it didn't have a huge amount of equitable value in that businesses are unlikely to pay a high multiple against EBITDA, usually probably between 1 and 3.
Right.
So that kind of led me to think, you're working really hard, it's really tough, but actually, I want the opportunity to, in the future, be looking at multi-millions of pounds of potential exits. So that's kind of got me thinking around, we need to be looking at more scalable sectors. Paul and I, at that point, went our separate ways. A good friend of mine that I met at, still a very good friend of mine today, at Compute Futures, Dave Young, was heading up a digital team at another company, and he phoned me up and said, I've got this other offer. I'm thinking about potentially leaving what I'm doing at the moment and going to take this startup business. And I said, send me the offer, let me have a look at the P&L, what's in it to you.
Was he just asking for advice, basically?
Just advice, yeah.
Right.
He just said, I'd be interested to get your insight and input. And I looked at it and I thought, I could do this. I could back him to do this. I believe in his values, his loyalty, his ability to do the job. You know, that those shouldn't be overlooked in looking at a business partner. Loyalty, I think, more so than anything else. And yeah, basically said to him, look, what you know, this P&L kind of looked like. Bill us 700k in 0 to 12 months, and you'll get 5% of the business. And my proposition was very different, which was, I will pay for the implementation, all the costs, guarantee sort of residual wage for 12 months, and gives us plenty of headroom then to look at scaling and building out a digital proposition.
Yeah.
So in doing that, then of course that enabled me to look at a way more scalable sector that had huge enterprise value.
And he took it.
And yeah, he did. And so him and I launched Soda, or
Trust in Soda.
Trust
Is it
in
always
Soda.
called Trust in Soda?
This is a tough thing, isn't it? Because when you the reality is that when you try and set up a business, there's not many domain names that's still available anymore.
Well, I'm not going to have this chat anymore because I always talk about my name and how it came. But you're right. There's not that. It's hard to find. So where did Trust In come from?
Well,
and where did Soda come from?
Well, Dave always wanted something like jellyfish squid or something like that. Some brand. So I was over the moon
because it's
a
digital company.
Well, it's now evolved to Soda is an acronym for Society of Digital Addicts, but that was never the case at the time.
Right.
Actually, Soda, we just liked it. We thought it was cool. We thought we could do a lot around the branding. Obviously, the audience.
I love it.
Digital.
I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Thank you. And yeah, so it needed to appeal to the audience. Any one of our brands, same with Broadgate and for Biotel, it appeals to its audience and its specialism. So Soda, it was Trust in Soda. Firstly, because recruitment has a bit of a sticky reputation. Yeah, lack of trust, right? So I think there's an opportunity for us to focus on client candidate satisfaction, a big focus on CSR, because I'd already launched a social enterprise called Ex-Military Careers.
Yeah.
We wanted to integrate that into the fabric of the business and have CSR initiatives, D&I focus, and a real unique value proposition from day one. So the trust piece worked really well into that, but equally it was then when you start looking at trust in, all the domain names become available to you, so you get way more options. So Dave and I launched Soda.
I actually love it. I think it's so cool. I wonder if we're going to, after this episode, we might see some Trust in Donuts or Trust in something else. You never know.
Something there.
Yeah, maybe. You've seen the domain names, we are whatever, like we are this, we are that. Like we've got weareconnects.com. Like putting we are, I think at one point allowed you to be anything you wanted. Now they're all gone pretty much. So Trust in might be the next one.
Maybe. But Soda is.
So how did that go then? Let's go back to 2014. What month was this?
January 2014.
Right, so January, so exactly 6 years ago?
Exactly 6 years ago.
And had you fully exited Strategic Move? Were you still involved?
Yeah, I had, but the benefit that I had of launching Soda was that I had a very good network from Vector Rec.
Yeah.
Although I didn't massively enjoy it, my immediate network would be quite easy for me to be billing between 25 and 30k a month. So I didn't want to lose that because there's going to be a residual cash flow need in launching a
new company.
New company, yeah. So
you kept yourself billing a little bit.
I was billing, and to the point of Soda getting up to speed. In actual fact, then it just became opportunity cost of my time. So I was spending way more time doing rec to rec, which was making cash but didn't have equitable value. So I thought, well, I need to deploy my time now. Focus.
So how was launching Soda different? Where did you start that? Was it not in Berkeley Square cupboards anymore?
No, because we, at the point of exiting from Strategic Move, we had then moved into the office group in our 5th year for bigger offices on Throgmorton Street.
Right.
And
right behind Bank, yeah?
Yeah, exactly, right there. So I had the office there, so that's where we launched. And then Paul and I, we went our separate ways, and Strategic Move sort of wound down. And so Dave and myself moved into an office in Farringdon. That was a really small office.
Did it have windows?
It had a window, but it was
The windows are always the biggest talking.
You know, if you go on a floor and it's like the cupboard room.
Yeah,
honestly,
I know it, yeah.
It's like it's sort of cut in the shape of a slice of a cake. It's like an awkward triangle. It was like that, and we awkwardly put 3 desks in there, but it did have a window, so that was a bit of a luxury. We made a couple of. I was quite lucky in the sense because I've done Vector Rec.
You knew you wanted, yeah.
But I had a good network of recruiters. And this was, if you think going back 6 years and the growth of on-site recruiters, a lot of the people that I placed in agencies had gone on-site. So had good relationships then with a lot of our clients in our first and second year were actually recruiters that I placed in the past that were actually on-site. So that was really useful.
So what was your role in it? Because you'd never recruited digital.
Yeah, I recruited digital when I was at Computer Futures and at Elan.
Oh, so you didn't know it, right?
I knew the market. I knew the software engineering market, but I hadn't done it for 5 years.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, I wasn't that interested in
the day-to-day
going back to it and day-to-day, and it was Dave's vision really and his plan, and obviously I had a good network of recruiters that enabled us to hire some great people from day one.
So how fast did you, or how many did you hire at the beginning?
So Sam Taylor was our first hire. He's an associate director of the business today.
Great.
Hayley Keelan-Gray shortly after him. She's our top biller and is launching North America for us alongside Lauren Langdale. And then we, you know, then we made some bad hires.
Okay.
Then actually, you know, we didn't have the right retention tools in place. Maybe we didn't really have a vision. We were quite lucky, I think, to continue to retain Hayley and Sam as good as they were without having a real sense of direction.
So were your role mainly BD then, going out and winning business and talking to people you knew and getting?
It was more talking to people I knew, yeah, and I was quite lucky in that sense, and looking at good hires coming into the business. But that we made lots of mistakes. You know, we made some terrible hires. We didn't invest into trainees and grads whatsoever. We didn't invest into anyone from an operational perspective. So I was picking up a lot of that, even though that's not really my sweet spot at all.
But what Dave Bogle did in the last, was it Dave?
Well, Paul in the last place was operations.
So he's now gone, hasn't he?
And now I'm assuming that role,
wow.
which I hated.
Yeah.
But there's no one else to do it.
Well, that's kind of me and Amma now. I think I only realised when he was off for a week how much shit he does.
And he's operations, is he?
He does. He's supporting a bit more of our customer success team now, but he's still he's COO, right? So his role is all about the back office, the people, all the strategy around how we operate, and mine's about the face and the brand and the marketing, etc. So he would never want to do what I do, but I'm fucking no chance don't want to do it.
But that's great, isn't it? You do need that.
Yeah,
you massively need that. And we did like an organisational psychometric testing thing called Belbin.
Yeah.
And it was then you're able to look at the various, there's like 9 traits that you have in personality types, and you sort of then look at the team and you look where you've got strengths and weaknesses. And we had no one up until even when after we had then launched Broadgate, when we were about 25 people, we didn't have a complete finisher in the business, which is someone that can just finish tasks, and that weighed heavily on me. A lot of that I was doing, and we should have addressed that well before being 25 in headcount. But yeah, so, you know, Soda then for that first year we scaled to up to around 10 people.
Really? And what did you bill in that first year?
Yeah, our EBITDA I can tell you what EBITDA was in that first year was 327. So
fucking hell.
Yeah, we did really well.
Your gross profit must have been quite high then.
Would have been high, yeah. Would have
close to $1 million or something.
Our net profit wouldn't be.
No, your gross profit.
Our gross profit, yeah. So we moved away from an ID facility. We moved away from the kind of traditional ID facility. We had HSBC.
Yeah.
And we had that for like 0 to 3 months, and I was supporting that, which is always going to end badly.
Yeah.
And what you get with ID facilities is you get 2 challenges. You get a drawdown challenge, and then you get a concentration challenge. So I think at the time we had, through Dave's relationship, we had placed 8 or 10 techies doing transformation projects at B&Q. And because we had high concentration of our contractors at B&Q, we were only able to draw down quite a low number, about 60%.
Right.
So it was costing us to do money, to be in business almost. And we moved to Sonovate really quickly.
Yeah.
And that was was great for us actually, because it enabled us just to.
It allowed you to get, what do you get, 90% of invoices on?
Get 100%.
100%.
Yeah, get 100%. So it really helped cash flow.
Are you still working with them now?
We do, yeah. We still across the group. We're over 200 contractors now,
Great.
And we're still with Sonovate. But it enabled our salespeople just to focus on sales, and then the way that platform works. I'm not here to push Sonovate in any way, but it's economies of scale, so you don't have to pay.
Do you know what though? Like I'd say, someone said it to me yesterday. The one thing about this podcast that the new starters want to know are the shit that, like, what are the tools and people to go to, because there's no like Bible to start a recruitment company. So finding out who you use that helped you is actually really important to the business.
So, I mean, I can tell you that Sonovate were great. Yeah. We work with. I have met with so many non-execs over the years. There was one particular non-exec called Mike Smith that we worked with. Right. He was fantastic about, vision, values, purpose, engagement, people, culture. Absolutely brilliant. And then obviously as the business then increases in scale, now we work with someone called Matthew Perrott. He's fantastic at kind of systems, operations, and control. So right. I think in terms of having someone that's been there, that's done that, that's seen, that's gone through a plan right through to exit, is useful to have in your really corner as well. Yeah.
So if we go back to that first year, then you've made some money, you've got 10 people, mm-hmm. You're lacking the completed finishers, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be a major challenge. It's not a big problem at that point. No. How did the next year kick on?
Well, then I set up Broadgate.
Why? Are you just a serial business starter or what?
In all honesty, I set up Broadgate because of Ben, because I probably didn't have enough cash to be launched in another business. Probably definitely didn't have probably capability and capacity to be launched in another business, right? So, but Ben was just exceptional.
Who's Ben? Sorry, I don't know Ben.
Ben and I set up Broadgate together. So he's the MD of Broadgate. Right. So Dave runs Soda today. Ben runs Broadgate today.
Right.
And sometimes outside of sector, market conditions, growth trajectory, potential opportunity, all the rest of it, you just got to back people, right? You just look at someone, you think you're great, and I got that from him, and I felt that he be the right person with the right attributes to demonstrate the right behaviours that you can back and will be successful. And he was really the main reason that I launched Broadgate. And then equally, there's some synergies there as well. So
Broadgate, we talked about before. I mean, I think that it creates such an emotion and a vision in your head when you hear the name. Like, I thought you'd been going for like 100 years, and it was a load of men in blue suits and black shoes who operate in the city, and probably just because of Broadgate Circle. Like, it's all the reason it.
I mean, to be totally honest, that's why. Yeah. That's why it's Broadgate. It's always going to resonate. Its reputation precedes it. It's a name that everyone kind of knows. It's kind of older and traditional.
But it's only 5 years old. I would never have known that.
Broadgate is only 5 years old, and focusing risk audit and compliance only.
Into what, financial services or all sectors?
Multi-sector now, but predominantly, financial services, insurance, fintech. But there's, and I'd be lying to say that this was the reason I did it at the time, but there's a huge amount of synergies between Soda and Broadgate in the client portfolio. So if you think about Soda, goes from kind of minimal viable products to software engineering and testing and go to market, and then once you have that product, then there's a regulatory perspective of it, and that's where Broadgate come in. There's an awful lot of our clients that we share, and actually our clients quite like that we're able to offer broader delivery capability. But we had them two very separate. So Soda was in Farringdon, and Broadgate was in Moorgate, actually. Yeah,
not in Broadgate.
No,
it's close enough.
No, but I think close enough, as you say. So we had.
And was it one suited and booted, and one was
very much so?
Yeah, and one was really
very much so. And when I brought the two businesses together, that was quite challenging, because we moved the two businesses together.
What year was that?
That would have been a year after Broadgate, a year after Broadgate's inception.
And why bring them together? Just for personal use?
I mean, definitely for my own sanity. Economies of scale, you're looking at leased offices. Understand that there's the synergies between the businesses, and just thinking that, we're more robust together. So we moved into an office in Dutch House in High Holborn, around the corner from where we are now. And it was interesting because, like, culturally, It's challenging. It's difficult. I really like Elliot Dale's podcast. I thought he was fantastic in that some of their growth has been via acquisition, and he just kind of goes, I enjoy it. I'm great at bringing people together and culture. That's so hard. That's very difficult. M&A in any sector.
Global M&A as well.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
And in any sector, M&A, the biggest challenge is culture. But I brought two very small businesses together.
How big were they each?
Similar headcount, so would have been actually Broadgate maybe a little bit less, so probably 12, and Soda then would have been 13, 14. So I had huge growth that following year.
Did it feel like two tribes, two different companies, two different cultures?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, Dave and Ben knew one another because I'd done quite a bit in introducing, and with various beers and all the rest of it. It wasn't like completely.
But you didn't have any other founder at your level that was like doing what you would like at the group level? No, right.
No. Well, we hadn't set up Trinnovo Group by then. In effect, it was Soda and it was Broadgate.
Did Dave have an issue that you were doing now, focusing with Ben? Because if I was Dave, I'd be like,
I think about that.
Me and you are business partners here, and now you're starting someone else.
Yeah, where are you off to? Like cheating on him? Where are you going now? You're
you're spreading yourself. You're spreading your attention. You're spreading your time. You're spreading. Everything's got to be a little bit more, like less intense.
I say Dave was absolutely fantastic in that time.
Well done, Dave.
Yeah,
don't know you, but well done, mate.
Yeah, cheers, mate. He should be here. He should be sat here, really.
We'll get him on next time.
But no, he was quite good in that sense, because really when I launched Soda with Dave, it was sort of a JV. I was going to really provide the finance and some expertise around launching a business, but it was his baby, it was his business.
Yeah, you already
so therefore I never said I'm going to spend 100% of my time in this business. So when then I looked at the Broadgate venture, it wasn't a great shock or surprise. So he gave me that headroom. However, I do agree with you that if you've got a business partner and it's your second year in business and I'm off looking at other stuff, there might have been other people that didn't sit very well with. So, but
he probably liked the fact he had that ownership freedom anyway, that he wasn't breathing down his neck all the time.
Yeah, or just absolutely hated me and never said anything.
Well, might be the same thing.
Not. Yeah. So then Broadgate came in. We were in the same office together. We outgrew that office very quickly.
So what was that like? Just paint a picture of what the first few days was like. Putting a load of guys in suits with a load of guys chilled and.
Yeah, so you got Soda in sort of shorts, flip flops, and the vests or whatever, depending on the time of the year, and then Broadgate, which was ties, top button, done up, and all the rest of it. And it was really interesting, but I was involved in every hiring decision at Soda and Broadgate. It's the most critical part that I saw of my role. We were hiring like-minded people, very similar people, good lads. We weren't hiring people from experience. We were hiring trainees and grads and putting them through some training. So I didn't think it was going to be... We didn't have lots of egos. We had a team. We had like a small nucleus and family of people that were there for the interest of the business rather than their own egos, right? So it wasn't that challenging because we were hiring very similar... Although we might be putting one in a suit and one with shorts and flip-flops, they're very similar.
Did that not start to blend into one though? Did you not find that, the guys in suits are looking over and thinking, "Oh, I want a bit of that," or vice versa? They're like, "We need to smarten up now." Did it blend a bit and start to merge, or?
It does, and that started to happen, and that actually, to be honest, was a little bit challenging. But we found a balance. Soda was smart enough a little bit, and Broadgate took the ties off. Yeah. But actually, culturally, we came together pretty well, and that's more testament to Dave and Ben's collaboration and ability to get on. But we were still two separate businesses. The only conduit really was me, in that I owned percentage of each business. And then we launched BioTalent. Then 2 years after inception of Broadgate, and that was life sciences.
How big were the other two at that point?
We were already, so when we launched BioTalent, we were already in Chancery House on Chancery Lane. So that was about 2,700 square feet. And I think we were already in Manchester and Dublin as well. So our headcount at the time, before launching BioTalent, I think it was about 45 in terms of headcount.
So why on earth did you do it again?
Why would you do it? Don't do it.
How do you keep getting these people as well? What is it? Your Rectorate days, or what is it?
It's the same principle. It's the same principle as why you back Dave, why you back.
No, but
Ben.
where are you meeting these guys that are all entrepreneurs wanting to do it like that? Not many people have that. Those people coming to their door. What are you doing differently?
So I can't take any credit for launching BioTalent. Actually, Ben's friend if they're listening, the two of them were Curry's top salespeople. I hate me saying that. Both met at Curry's together, and they were mates. They grew up in Tunbridge Wells. Ben said to me, "This guy, I've been trying to get him for a little while. Could you meet with him?" And I did. Similar to Ben and to Dave, just an incredibly.
And they were trying to hire him for one of their brands, or did they know he wanted to start something?
They knew he wanted to start something.
Yeah.
So, that's when, at the time I was doing an MBA. So I started my executive MBA a year before. So I was doing evenings and weekends at Cass Business School. And I started to get a much better understanding of private equity, mergers and acquisitions, corporate finance and accounting. Started really appreciating what that looked like. So you start looking at multiples against EBITDA to drive value, and what will drive value, and where there are synergies. And you start looking at, I did a dissertation on planning and maximising value for exit. So I was doing that at the time. So actually to look at a complementary brand that enabled us to continue to scale with great residual income from contracts, and to add depth into our leadership team, because James is a fantastic board member. He's offered us a huge amount that we didn't already have.
Who's James?
So we launched BioTalent with James Cox.
Right, so James is the next guy, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So when you start to understand that a little bit, it makes sense. And but James is very capable, and he almost standalone could run that business. But we had the infrastructure. We'd made plenty of mistakes. He could learn from those. We had the academy.
The value's there.
Sorry?
The value's there.
Yeah. To a degree. I mean, he's done fantastically well, and he's offered a lot that we didn't have. But in terms of from an infrastructure, from an office perspective, I guess a lot of it was there, and so yes, and it wasn't. It doesn't compete with Soda or
doesn't
Broadgate.
fit the other two as well, does it?
Yeah. So it doesn't. In some ways, it could be perceived as a bit of an outlier. However, all three businesses look at how you go about attracting top 5% of talent, unique value proposition. Our CSR initiative in ex-military career social enterprises shared horizontally across the three businesses. Our investment into offline events, etc. They've taken on a lot of those, so we do have synergies. But in terms of the sort of life cycle of a business, where Soda might service from minimum viable product, software engineering, and go to market, Broadgate then regulation, BioTalent does fit in there.
I imagine BioTalent would fit closer to Broadgate because there'd be a lot of regulatory risk there.
Exactly right.
But there would still be development. I imagine BioTalent would open doors that the other two wouldn't.
Yeah.
And bring the other two with them, because it's that biotech, pharma, science type space.
And that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Finance and accounting, for example, is probably one vertical or horizontal that sits across all three brands. And when we launched Trinnovo Group as a group entity, naturally we needed to pull the three businesses together. And if BioTalent was an outlier, then we had to look at where we would have synergy. So it might be medical devices, for example, or AI, robotics, machine learning, where then it has synergies with the other brands. Or finance and accounting would sit across all three as well. So in terms of looking at Trinnovo Group, we had to bring the business together a little bit.
So how did that business take off so you've done three businesses really, plus your military career stuff, and then you've got the fourth one. How is that? Did you feel like you come at it with a different mindset, a different knowledge base, and it had a bigger impact or a faster acceleration or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you get the benefit of learning from your mistakes. But Trinnovo Group was really just a roll up of all three businesses, and it enabled us to have a clearer narrative around the relationship between the three businesses in terms of introducing clients to one another, cross-pollination of candidates, launching new offices and territories would be at Trinnovo level, so then we benefit from economies of scale and shared services, so kind of marketing, internal recruitment, finance and accounting was all going to be Trinnovo then, and then there'd be an attributed cost to that shared service relative to headcount. Yeah. So we sort of brought it together because really we saw the benefit in scaling our operations team and piece, and that then is and still is and will be the differentiator of us going from 100 headcount to 250 in headcount and enabling us to internationalise. that then is so important. But quite simply, I think it just comes down to people around why I launched Biotalent. Biotalent, again, I guess fairly lucky, it scaled really quickly as well. So
has that been the fastest of all the brands?
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. It's the fourth, fifth time of asking. You might not be the man driving everything, but did your experience of the other brands help Biotalent get off the ground faster and better?
I'd say so. I mean, I'd like to think so. But it's definitely not me picking up the phone speaking to clients.
But you'll probably know what you need to do, as opposed to in the first ones you're doing anything because you're like, I've got to be busy, I own a percentage. Whereas you'll be able to look at it, I imagine, now and know what you really need to do and what you don't need to do. Where to step your foot on and off.
Definitely. I mean, in terms of having a vision, having a plan, understanding where you should be hiring, the retention tools in place then for your senior leadership team. Looking at then internationalising what the value proposition is, how to integrate CSR into the fabric of the business. A lot of that I did with Biotalent because we had so much benefit from doing it with Broadgate and from Soda before.
Yeah.
So we brought that together as Trinnovo Group, and then we made probably our most critical hire that we needed to make as a group, which was going out to the market and hiring for a CFO and or COO. Probably we want someone that's going to be better weighted towards finance and accounting, so CFO. And we made that hire recently, and that's a fantastic hire that we made. And that will see us sort of grow up a little bit as a business, I think, sort of enter new territories. Where we've launched offices, we've gone to Manchester or Dublin or more recently California. What we've done, because we've grown so quickly, is we've often hired people locally that haven't really understood our values or culture. So for us as a business this year, we'll look inwards. We'll look at the people that we've got.
Who can put their hand up to go to places.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Those two girls who are launching California.
They were within our first 6 hires. Lauren and Hayley were both with us, and Jake, who runs Dublin, he was our first.
It's like the Faden story, isn't it? Like if you listen to that episode with Claire,
I listened to it.
Yeah,
I've listened to them all, mate.
Yeah,
I'm a fan.
Well, the Claire episode was about growing the London culture and then expanding it. And she went out and I think she's just opened another office. And then you've got the Austin Fraser guys who talk. Like Pete Hart talks about going to Germany, and then he's gone to America and. Elliot was talking about. I mean, there's a combination of getting that culture right, but then also knowing the local, being local. Because you told me a story about Dublin offline. Tell me what was it like when you first entered the Irish market? Because it's a bit different than what you expected, right?
Yeah, it was. So we recently won. Broadgate won best. It won Best New Agency last year and then Best Small to Medium Agency back-to-back at the NOF Awards in Ireland, which is fantastic. But Broadgate won Best Startup Agency after our 4th year, I think, in Ireland. It takes a while.
Yeah. And why?
Because I think it has its own... Ireland has its own sense of purpose and culture, and although it's very close proximity... To London, from City Airport to Ireland would take less than an hour. It's its own country and in its own right, and we didn't really understand that as well as we probably should have done. And we were kind of looking because we have lots of data and analytics in the business. We use Cube 19 and we have what good looks like, and we were still approaching the Irish market in the same way that we would in the UK, and that's wrong actually. A lot of it is driven by candidate meetings, and it's very meetings and referral based, and there's not a great deal of sort of job boards to use. So I think we were just pissing people off for the first year, and then we started to understand it a bit better.
Did you hire any local Irish people?
We hired 3 people from Rob Waters
Irish guys
to launch Ireland, and that was a mistake because
they didn't know your culture, or
for a couple of reasons. The first is that I guess they're coming out of a business called Rob Waters. It's got a great reputation that precedes it, an existing client base, infrastructure, CRM, and you're just square peg, square holes in those businesses. We're Broadgate Search, who no one's ever heard of before. And we thought we'll hire 3 people from Rob Waters, but actually in many ways, it's not the people that are great. It's the brand of Robert Walters that resonates really well in Ireland. So when their phone wasn't ringing and they didn't have the infrastructure or database, I mean, it seems so obvious now, they kind of underperformed, and they didn't apply themselves in the same way that we apply ourselves as a business in terms of minimum standards. So Jake was our hire in London. He was outside of because when we launched Broadgate, there was an initial team of 5. Jake was our first hire outside of that initial team. We hired him as a trainee. He now runs that office, but he understands us better than anyone in terms of what our values are, our work ethic, minimum standards, how we go about differentiation, and our commitment to CSR. Actually, he's been with us since day dot. And our business then changed when we were able to basically have our culture just with a small tweak around how we operate commercially.
Well, how would he wouldn't know the Irish market either, right? So
he was servicing Ireland, but from London. So he had some local understanding, but yeah, very quickly picked it up. Actually. So, and then when we launched Manchester, Manchester was Matt Carter launched that for Broadgate, and he was one of the first hires again.
Is he from London? Or?
At Broadgate from London, yeah.
So the Cockney going up to Manchester trying to launch it.
Yeah. So he's an associate director with the business now. So
how's he got on up there? All good.
Manchester we've scaled. So we launched Broadgate Manchester 2 years ago. We launched Soda in Manchester 8 months after. We've got 12 highly capable recruiters in Manchester now. Manchester, I mean, you know better than I do. It's great. It is.
It's different. I mean, I go back now and I can feel a swag about the city. Like there's an arrogance about the city that we're kind of different. It says above pub doors like we do things differently up here.
Yeah.
And I never noticed it growing up because I was there, but now I'll go back and I hear the accent and I hear the way people talk and even the music. Like you go in pubs and it is literally the Happy Mondays playing or the Stone Roses or Oasis. Like they're just pumping you with this culture.
Yeah.
And it's great to see. I don't think I'd want to live there again, or not for a long time, but I as well, there is a resistance to London. There's a big resistance to London, culturally. Like I only went there once growing up, and it was like, oh, you don't go on that underground. Don't go on that underground. So I imagine a London chippy recruiter going up there and trying to like, all right, mate, giving it this. I reckon people would be like, piss off, mate.
I think you're right.
I think you'd have to. It's a bit like Ireland. Like there's a way we do it, and it's about who you know, and it's about time and Do you know what I mean?
I mean, Matt's from London, but I think.
Sorry, Matt, I don't even know you. But
a Cockney recruiter would piss anyone off, I reckon. But he's way more polished than that.
Yeah.
But Manchester, you know what? If you look at cost per square foot of offices, the competitive landscape isn't as saturated. Salaries are a lower opportunity. If you're able to service Europe, obviously, really well from Manchester. It's a massive sort of growing city, and in part we were just out of space in London, and we were looking at the cost per square foot, and we were saying, well, let's sort of test our hypothesis that Manchester could be a great location. Did some competitor analysis. A number of our competitors were there. We started to price it up, and then felt, if there's a constant stream of good talent, then we should look at it seriously.
Are you recruiting into Manchester, or are you doing it anywhere from there?
We're sort of doing so the patch would work sort of north of Manchester, basically. But we're starting to look at Europe from Manchester as well. Obviously, we've got the office in Dublin, which services Europe. But you don't want to spread yourself too thin either.
No. Story for... But over Christmas, I met one of my mates. He won't be listening. He don't even know I do the podcast. But he's a mortgage broker, and he said he went. Well, the only reason I'm saying it is because he texted me about end of November, just going, "Hey mate, you're on for a beer. I'm in London," and I think he was in like Leatherhead or something. I don't even know what that is, but I know it's like not like in central London. It's like an hour's train ride or something. Yeah. And he's like, "You fancy a beer?" I was like, "Where are you?" And he just clicked on his phone and sent me his map on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
It was like an hour and 55 minutes away from where I was. I was like, we're fucking near me, mate. I was like, I'm a northerner, I don't know, I ain't got a clue anyway, see you in a bit, and that was it. And I was like, that's kind of the attitude of what London and Manchester is totally different.
Yeah.
Hopefully not offended everyone in Manchester, but fuck it. So, all right, so you're at a point now where you've got these 3 brands, you're launching in the US. 4 brands if you class Trinnovo as a brand. But what's the future for you? Like where are you? And you said you're 34, so you've been doing this since you were 22.
Yeah, God,
I don't think I've met anyone who's got as much shit going on at your age. Like I'm a year younger, but I've only just started, right? What's driving you, and what's the future look like?
The future for us as we've been really lucky as a business in the sense that we've picked up lots of awards as each individual entity. For us, we'll start to look to shape the group proposition. We'll start to improve that narrative. We'll start to improve our infrastructure around training, development. We'll improve our Future Leaders program. And we'll start to internationalise, So, and also as a business, we probably need to be better around and communicating what our vision is, what our plan is. We haven't done a huge amount of that. A lot of it has just been, you have a headline level plan, but you need the agility to move quickly. So, but I need to be better at communicating that. And now there's just under 100 in headcount. It's a responsibility in my role.
How well do you know all 100 like that?
Really well,
I
think.
Because that's something, I think it was Gary Vee said it, like your first 20 employees, like when you're 20 compared to when you're 100, compared to when you're 200 or 400, like there's stages where you just can't know everyone that well, and it's a completely different dynamic. Obviously we're at 20 and I feel like I know everyone.
Yeah.
What is it like being at 100?
It becomes more tricky in that I can't be everywhere to interview everyone, and it wouldn't be a great use of my time. However, if I'm involved in the interview process, I always feel that it's been my responsibility to say we should offer this person. Therefore, I feel very invested into their future and how they perform, so I'll take a bit of an interest. As that started to change, because I can't be in every interview, that you start more recently seeing people that have had absolutely nothing to do with the interview process, and that's quite a strange feeling actually. But you have to do that, right? You have to empower your leaders to make those decisions. Yeah. But I don't think you should ever abdicate your responsibility to know the people that are building a business for you or with you. I think that's you really have to make that effort, and it's not that difficult, is it? To if you've got 100 people, maybe I don't know the most recent, let's say 20 people that are with the business today as well as I know our first 20, but then I need to be better at that. I need to probably work on that because we work in recruitment. All we have is our people.
That's what it's all about,
engaging our people and giving them the best conditions. So I feel that I do know every person in the business. Do I know everyone as well? No, definitely not.
So what do you see your role and the business looking like in the next 5 years?
So I think for Trinnovo, headcount, by the way, I keep on talking about headcount. You mentioned headcount as well. It's a useful illustration to demonstrate the size and scale of a business, but not necessarily the best barometer of success.
No.
So actually, our immediate future is going to look more like NFI per head, length of tenure, promotions, our organic and meritocratic structure, strength and depth of our existing leadership team, ensuring we've got the right people in the right seats, improving our operational capability, improving our learning and development function, improving the infrastructure available to us and the people that are with Trinnovo. That's what we need to do this year.
I reckon everyone listening who's maybe not much bigger is thinking, shit, everything you're saying we need to do. It just starts to hit you and go, oh, fuck. We need that, yeah, we need that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you've got your handle on everything that needs to be done.
I mean, I guess there's probably always stuff that slips through the cracks. I tend not to switch off though. I'm constantly thinking and then thinking how we can innovate, which is always, I guess risky, and then thinking what we could and should be doing differently. And there's sacrifice that goes with that. When you're constantly thinking all the time. So when I'm thinking then, let's say the 5-year plan for Trinnovo, it's not necessary. So I'm kind of thinking more around retention of the great people that we've got in year one. And if I'm being totally honest, year 5 is just guesswork.
Yeah,
you're just making it up. So I think my time spent around looking at years
3 years is quite realistic. You can see. I think anything beyond that is a bit.
I agree. I think your time plan in years 4 and 5 are a waste of time. So the opportunity cost of that time, I just stay away
So
from
3
it.
years, where do you see it?
So year 2 would be internationalising. So this year is around the organic growth, infrastructure, operational capability and efficiency. And then next year is around internationalisation. So, our EBITDA at the moment is predominantly in the UK. And again, if I just revert back to that corporate finance piece and improving the multiples against EBITDA, your EBITDA in an ideal world is made up a third, US, EU, UK. So we need to probably in the second year rebalance that in looking at Europe and the US for sure. And then I guess in year 3, it's about scale. Once you've got the right people in the right roles, the right infrastructure in place, your value props right, it's about scale. It's about reaching some form of critical mass. You've had some great people on this show. I've listened to them all. I think, but there are a handful of people that have done incredibly well. But a lot of that I think stems from having that period of time that you just need to pause a little bit and say, is our structure right to continue this growth trajectory? And for us, we've grown very quickly. We're at the point now that we need to pause a little bit and just make sure we've got that infrastructure right.
I think that's it's a really good message. I think it's a really good message, and it's something that you probably don't think about at the beginning of your journey. You just think, "Fuck it, we're going to grow, we're going to make more money, we're going to add more people, and it's going to be great." And then when it gets bigger, like you say, there's so many every year, every size, every milestone, it gets more. There's different challenges, and definitely like slowing down. I mean, I said it today to my team. I think I hate Liverpool as a football club, right? I'm a City fan, and I can't stand them, but you can't argue with what they've done this year. But if you're looking at Liverpool's success this year, you got to look back at when Klopp came in and probably what Brendan Rodgers did. But I'm sorry if you don't give a shit about football, but I'm going to use this analogy. But it is all about like the foundations that they're building in the back, and City have done the same thing. It's about all the stuff in the academy from the pillars in that team to be able to then build on it. And you look at the success they're having now, and we've had. It's not come from a couple of years before of really thinking everything through. Yeah. And I look at United's team now, and I think over the last few years, it has just been about buying the biggest, trying to beat other people to the player. Yeah. And there's not been that much time thought about like they did for 25 years before. Yeah. So businesses you can take so much from things like that and think, how are we doing similar?
Do you know, it's an interesting analogy, isn't it? Because the same could be said for having a trainee and graduate academy, in that if you look at the most successful recruitment businesses, they have that, don't they? They have the infrastructure that enables them to hire trainees and grads with the right values into the business, maybe factor a little bit of churn into that growth projection, but they've invested heavily into that infrastructure. And culturally, I think that's really, really, really important. And then I think that if you're going to set up a recruitment business, I think if you start with the end in mind, you then consciously make 2 decisions really. It's either a lifestyle choice, or you're scaling a business in which you want to exit.
And you have value in it.
And has real value. So if you're thinking about the value in the exit, really, you probably start with £1 million EBITDA. And then you think, well, £1 million EBITDA, what does that need to look like? You start building a bit of an organogram, and you realise that there is never a constant stream of good recruiters available that are actively looking, certainly not on contract, certainly actually not even on perm. So you have to invest then heavily into trainees and grads to enable you to obtain that goal. If, though, your choice is a bit of a lifestyle choice, arguably you could have a strong commission structure, compete for people on price, if you maybe want a business between 1 and 10 people. But if you want to compete for people on values and focus on retention and engage them on your purpose, for me that's trainees, grad.
And people to bleed for your business, really, don't they?
And then that's entry level, and that's going to take a little bit of time to see those guys reach maturity. But the retention is going to be so much greater, and that's certainly what we've seen. So
what? Oh, that's a good. That takes me to a place I wanted to ask actually. Right, so. I don't think I've had anyone on the show. Barnaby, in the end of last year, had done 3 businesses. You're now looking at your 5th business. What? I'm starting recruitment company X in January 2020, February 2020. what advice have you got? Like you just said, first thing, start with the end in mind, figure out if you want to grow something of value or you want to have a lifestyle business.
Yeah.
What else have you got for people that you would get them to think about or do?
I mean, that's a good question. If I think about on your show, right, that who I think are the best people that have been on, right, like.
This is your opinion.
This is my opinion, not
just
yours.
So you know, it's not my opinion. Yeah. I love you all equally.
Yeah. But if I think Simon LaFosse was really good. Tony Kokoza was really good. James Arrows was very good. Matthew Eames was good. Elliot, I thought was exceptional. But they all share like very similar behaviours and themes in that they're incredibly authentic. They know their business inside out and markets. They put a lot of their success down to other people, and to be honest, quite rightly. But none of them have egos, right? None of them have egos. And I think if you want to grow a business, you have to empower people, and your business is always going to outgrow your ego. So it depends what the motivations are for doing it, firstly. And then I think consciously you need to start with the end in mind, whether or not it's lifestyle choice or whether or not you're building something to exit, because your decisions that you make 0 to 24 months and investing into infrastructure should precondition what that end result looks like. But then you have to have a plan. Even if it's a loose plan, and then you need to. Everyone says people and hire people and have a vision, and that creates engagement. But you have to be prepared to give your business away as well, right? Because the investment cost is minimal, the barriers to entry almost non-existent. It's not a regulated sector, so if you want to engage people, you have to remunerate them incredibly well. So. And you have to have the right retentions, whether or not it's LTIP or EMI. But then you have to just treat people correctly. Don't set up a business, I'm going to be a business owner and I'm just going to treat people like shit. And that seems to happen quite a lot.
Yeah, it does.
And you know what? There's plenty of recruitment businesses that are 10 people and never seem to grow beyond 10 people. But I think at that point, you've got to look at yourself as a business owner.
Especially if you're trying to grow. If you're not, and you're a lifestyle business,
then fine.
There's nothing wrong with it. But if you are saying I want to be 100 staff and you can't get past 10, you're right. It's got to be about you, hasn't it? To
a certain degree, yeah. It might be that you're lacking expertise or you're not getting the right advice. But my final bit would be that point is have someone available to you in your immediate network that has done it before. And there are plenty of good non-execs out there that range from non-execs that are great at finance and accounting to strategy to internationalising and culture. That you tend to find that some non-execs will have particular strengths. If you're setting up a business, find a non-exec that has a particular focus, not so much on strategy, more around systems, control, and culture, because that is so important from first 2 years, just so important. So, yeah, that'd be my advice.
Wow. Well, you mentioned Tony Kokoza in your bit there.
Yeah, she was brilliant.
And I want to mention just personally, like since that episode, if you remember, she mentioned about her new venture is about being a personal coach and an NED. Yeah. So I engaged her afterwards to be my personal coach. Brilliant. And that was in July after my wedding. And I'll just say she's been unbelievable. Like, really? And I'm not just saying this. I want people on this who are listening to get in touch with her because I think she's that good. And the thing about Tony, if you listen to that episode, you'll hear about the things she went through as an individual. Yeah. It's like she's doing more personal than business for me right now because I've had some tough stuff in the last 3 months, which I'm not going to talk about. But it's like she's never anything I can throw at her. She's been through it. Yeah. Like, I've never met anyone with more ability to listen and give me context to what I'm talking about. So I would just say, look, if you listen to this episode and you are either a startup or any stage and you're thinking, I want an NED or a support, but it doesn't always have to be about the company. It could sometimes just be about what's going on at home or how you feel about, like, for example, knowing why you're doing what you're doing, not just what you want to achieve from a lifestyle or a growth, but why the fuck are you doing it? Yeah. First thing she said to me, why are you even doing this, Sean? Yeah. And it made me really think about what's important to me. And so I'd just say, look, get in touch with her. I'll tag her in some of the posts, and if you ask me, I'll put you in touch. But Ash, I want to just say thanks so much. It's been a wicked episode. I've loved every minute of it. I think, honestly, I'm I'm not just saying this. You're inspiring me at the age you are to have done what you've done.
Thanks, mate.
And it's incredible. I think a lot of people listening will resonate with what you've done. I don't think we've gone into loads of detail about each of the brands, so I actually think there's an opportunity to talk again, and there'll be other. I think there's parts of this that people will want a bit more info from, and I'd implore them to get in touch with you.
Cool.
Is LinkedIn the best place to contact you?
Yeah, no one contact me, please.
No one.
Only joking.
Yeah, well, don't be a dick. I think you're better on LinkedIn. I think I WhatsApped you and you didn't reply, so you can piss off on there. So do not. I'm not even going to give his number out because he won't reply. So LinkedIn is the best place.
LinkedIn is best, and just on that point, I'm very, very happy to take calls and speak to anyone that wants any advice or guidance or whatever I can offer, or any clarity on anything I've spoken about. Then feel free to reach out to me anytime. Yeah.
Amazing. And is it your twin brother in the business?
Him and I launched Ex-Military Careers together, which is our social enterprise. So yeah.
So because honestly, I lost the plot the other week. I was looking at your website and I was like, "You're in every fucking photo," and then I was like, "This guy is everywhere." And then I went, "Then you was one photo and there was two of you," and I was like, "What's going on?" And then I realised you had a brother. And I was like, and I'd spoken to him before through something else. So. Really? Yeah, that just shot. Like, so yeah, get in touch with him as well if you want. But it really, I was like, what the? This guy is on every photo. That ego is real bigger than you said. But look, thanks for coming in. And that's it for another week, another episode of The Rag. I'm hoping you're enjoying the season 2. I know I'm enjoying recording it. I want to say thanks for the recent messages. I mean, over the Christmas period, early January, I'm getting messages every day. Some amazing messages from people in the UK, in the US, in Australia. If you've got more questions, if you've got things you want me to find out from recruitment owners that have been there and done it, then please do. The best place is to DM me on LinkedIn. And I'll do my best for you. As always, I ask, please do share your comments, get on LinkedIn, tell your friends, get more listeners, and put your comments in the iTunes store, because it does really help us get the message out to more people. So I'll be back again next Wednesday with another recruitment owner telling their unique story of growth. Have a good week, and I'll speak to you then.